If you'll rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. What a day, huh? Beautiful out there after this brutal summer. All right. We have a continuation of the public hearing from the comprehensive plan. Terry, do you need to read the notice again, or?
Since it's continued, you do know.
Okay. All right. Nat, did you want to throw anything out before we get going again? I don't want to put you on the spot.
I can do this.
Yeah, I'll bet you can.
We're delighted that we had some people come to the first session, and
You go to the mic.
And we've heard you. Betsy made some comments when she was here last, and we had some other comments. I wasn't at that meeting, but we had a number of people from the committee there, so we've made a note of everything that has been said, and we will, of course, make a note of everything that gets said tonight. And the door is open for a while, although I guess at some point the public hearing will be over and done, and we'll move towards the next stage. And there is we do have a few things that we need to do to make this a final document, because it needs to get, there are some appendices and maps and nice things that make it really a nice document to be able to read online, or if you care to make your own copy. And I guess I should mention that, because people might say, well, where is this thing? How do I find it? And the place to go is www.philipstown. It's still 2020, although I think we may have changed the website to be now Philipstown 2030. But it's, I think the way you get to the website is philipstown2020.org, and the draft is right there and can be read online, and you can make your own copy of it. We, the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and there are several members here that I want to make sure everybody knows. Betsy Calhoun over here, and Sean Conway there in the middle, and Terry Wavada, who's on the end line. I mean, this has been a wonderful effort that we've been involved in the last couple of years, but it's not over, because we are accepting comments. And I think the nicest thing about this plan, the best thing about this plan, is that it really is meant to be a living document, so that if something gets missed, we didn't talk about, and there are always new things coming up. I mean, this is a document that can be looked at, is hoped that we look at all the time. And in fact, we're hopeful that every time, at least once a year, that the town board will take it upon itself, perhaps at budget time, to look at the plan, and maybe every year we'll get this, we'll grow into this habit of identifying the 2 or 3 or 4 things that are on the list. I mean, the plan has 150 things in it that we could do, but maybe we'll get in the habit of at least annually looking at that list and deciding what are the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 things we want to do in the coming year. And there may be new things to get done. So we welcome your comments, and I'm just going to sit over here and help answer if there's any answers need to be.
All right. Is there any comments from the public on the comprehensive plan? I guess since we're not moving towards adoption, since there's still work to do, should we leave the public hearing open?
No, you should close the public hearing. The comprehensive plan board will make whatever changes are appropriate. When they're ready to present their final version of it, recommended, there'll have to be another public hearing. Right. And after that, the town board can take action.
We'll close this round. Could I get a motion to close the hearing on the comprehensive plan?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Thank you. Thank you, Nat, for your perseverance and to everyone on the committee. All right, approval of minutes, monthly town board meeting, August 5th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I was absent, so I cannot vote on that. Public hearing, comprehensive plan update, August 5th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Workshop, August 11th, 2021. What was that workshop? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That workshop was, the topic was LoSAP.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I vote aye. Committee reports, Conservation Board.
There was no meeting of the Conservation Board in August.
Oh, this is bad news. Recreation.
There was no meeting of the Recreation Commission in August, but the next meeting is September 28th, and we just want to announce that the Castle to River Run is at the end of October, and that date will soon be confirmed. It's sponsored by the Friends of Philipstown Recreation, and it's an important fundraiser for finishing the pavilion that's in Philipstown Park. So anyone that can come out for that race or support it and support Friends of Philipstown Recreation, that would be appreciated.
What's the date on that, Judy?
It's in October. The date's going to be confirmed shortly, and we'll send out a link, and it will be posted on the town website as well.
We got time to get in shape.
You better
Yes.
start now. You better leave this meeting. Philipstown Hub.
The Philipstown Hub on Tuesday, August 31st, held a luminaria lighting down by the Cold Spring waterfront in recognition of International Overdose Awareness Day. I attended and was moved by the glow and the remembrances of family members and friends. This is an important celebration annually of the lives of all those that Philipstown has lost, and the 250 people who are dying every day of overdoses around the world. You can support the Hub by registering for this Saturday's run. The Family Fun Run is Saturday, September 4th, and you can register at philipstownhub.org/race.
Thank you, Judy. Planning Board.
The planning board did not meet as well. Next meeting would be September 16th, 2 weeks from tonight. And as you know, we've had a really full agenda over the last several years, and this will continue to be so over the next several months.
Thanks, Bob. Zoning.
Zoning Board did not meet either. They will meet on September 3rd.
Highway.
Highway, Philipstown Town Board members from Crawford's End, work performed by the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of August. We are asking the community for their patience with all the noise coming from the Highway Department. It was necessary to hammer out a good deal of ledge in the area where the new building will be placed. Although there will be plenty of noise until the project is finished, the loudest of it should be over by the end of this week. Progress in the new highway garage continues. Updates include the older garage was removed by the contractor. Beatty & Watson staked out the new building, and this required more ledge being dug out before footing work can begin. An oil water separator was ordered for the wash station. We avoided the worst of Tropical Storm Henri. However, with large amounts of rain, 3.24 inches, drains were checked and cleared where needed. When not working here at the construction site, highway crews have been potholing and grading roads this month. Mowing has been going on every day when weather is clear. A new dump body, which was included in our new equipment budget, arrived and replaced the old one on truck number 2. The Highway Department received approximately 25 phone calls regarding road complaints and issues for the month of August. And the Highway Department spent approximately $5,400 in vehicle maintenance and repairs in August. Unfortunately, we did not spare a lot of damage in yesterday's storm. There were several roads closed for a short period of time, but I just was in contact with Carl, and everything is passable. I'm sorry, can I have the microphone? All of the town roads in Philipstown are currently passable. We lost a section of Trout Brook, which had to be replaced, as well as East Mountain South. Well, it's really East Mountain Road over near the Wikipedia side. But the bridge, once you go down that road and go into the Wikipedia area, the bridge in Fishkill is gone, so there's no longer access over East Mountain into Wikipedia. So there's been a mutual aid agreement with the fire departments to provide protection. There's cooperation with East Fishkill and North Highland, so it's the area is covered, but it's all accessible by fire truck currently. There's also a large washout on East Mountain North, maybe a mile and a half up on the bad turn right before you get to Esselborn, but one lane is passable. The school buses got through this morning, so and the highway trucks are, so we feel that the emergency services can get through there as well. But I commend Carl and his crew once again. They did a tremendous amount of work today, rebuilding, basically rebuilding 2 roads completely. Several trees were down. I know there's a lot of water on the roads still, but I think we're doing okay with, excuse me, getting them back open.
Yeah, and I mean, Carl's to be commended for the shape that he keeps all the roads in. The very fact that we didn't lose more road is evidence of his skill at this. So things worked out all in all. We have not seen a rainstorm like that in many, many years. So, I mean, records were set all over. Records are being set every week, though. So nothing going on here, though. All right, thanks, John. Building and land, as John said, the work continues on the highway garage. I'm not sure when the building's due to arrive.
There's a little bit of a delay currently for the shop drawings from the steel manufacturer, or the manufacturer of the building, the steel building itself. So the footings can't be placed until the shop drawings are complete with the anchor bolts. So that's what they're waiting on right now. We did speak about the hazmat problem that was up there last month. The remediation is complete. The dirt has been placed back in. The dirt that was contaminated has been taken away and cleansed, burned. I believe they burn it. The estimate, we had paid for 500 tons to be removed. That was what we had estimated. It's going to be closer to 900 tons. That's what we put in back in the hole. So that's what we're basing it on. We haven't gotten a final score as to the tonnage, but it is cleaned up and taken care of. So.
Another benefit of redoing this garage is pulling out the fuel systems that were obviously well past due for that sort of thing. We certainly don't want to foul the environment as a township, so we were, as soon as we found it out, we were on top of it. The DEC was there. It's all been monitored and certified, so we're in good shape. Cemetery Committee.
Yeah, so I had a meeting with Taggart Lake, who and actually got to walk around a cemetery, and I honestly did not know that Philipstown oversees 4 historic cemeteries. And Taggart Lake was just showing me some of the work that him and John Benjamin have been doing, recovering old stones that have fallen into the ground and been covered with grass and repairing them. And it's really amazing. I mean, you see a lot of the names on those cemetery stones you still recognize in Philipstown. So they have done a lot of great work. Unfortunately, they want to continue their work in the fall. Talked to Susan, and the budget for the stone masonry work is pretty much exhausted. So it looks like hopefully they'll be able to continue their work in the spring.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you, Jason.
Yeah.
Putnam County Legislator, Nancy Montgomery.
We have a long agenda. Just a couple of things of note. Early voting starts right here in Philipstown on October 23rd at the North Highlands Firehouse. That's a wonderful thing that we finally have that on this side of the county. Also, thinking about Preparedness Month, which September is National Preparedness Month. I just want to tell you about an EMT training that the county is offering. It's an extensive training. I think it's 180 hours now or more. It's January 4th through June 17th, Monday and Wednesday evenings and 7 Saturdays. This is a great thing you could do for your community. Training is free if you join your local ambulance corps. Otherwise, if you just want to become an EMT and want to go through Putnam County's training, you can pay for the training. But again, this month is the month for preparedness, and I just wanted to mention it. And also just thinking back to what a resilient community we live in. You know, we lived through the days of Irene and Sandy and John and Richard and I and Bobby. Lived through that with Philipstown Ambulance Corps, Garrison Fire Department, North Highlands, Continental Village, and Cold Spring at a time where we really had to make it up on our own. And we as a resilient community did that. And I think I just wanted to remind everybody that preparedness is key. You know, we've already seen Henry and Ida this month, and it reminds us to be prepared. Make a plan today. Your family may not be together if a disaster strikes, so it's important to know which types of disasters could affect your area. Know how you'll contact each other if you're separated, and establish a family meeting place that's familiar and easy to use. There are great resources on ready.gov. That's a really easy website to remember. Ready.gov can give you and your families lots of tools to prepare on your own. And we advocate, I remember working with you guys on the town board, we really advocate to shelter in place and prepare your family yourselves. Government will do everything we can to help in preparedness and recovery, but it's up to you, hopefully, to do the same. On a other note, Putnam County Department of Health has scheduled a third dose Moderna COVID-19 vaccine clinic for people who are moderately to severely immunocompromised, and that's Wednesday, September 8th at the Philipstown Recreation Center. Only individuals who have already received 2 doses of the Moderna vaccine are eligible. So you can register at the PutnamCountyNewYork.com website, find out if you're eligible there as well. The last available report I got I found myself actually, from the Putnam County Health Department was on August 3rd, where we climbed from moderate to substantial infection rate. So based on crossing the threshold of 50 new cases per 100,000 over 7 days, Putnam County's 7-day incidence rate has nearly doubled since July 25th to August 1st. That's the last report I had. So in other research, I found that we are at a 4.2% positivity rate. Those that are fully vaccinated here are 61%, 71% 18 and up, and 81% 65 and up. So our vaccination rate is good, but we want to make it better. And that's the last thing I have to say. We want to get everybody vaccinated. Do you guys have any questions for me?
Yeah, just on the early voting, is that just for members of, anybody in Philipstown can vote there?
Yeah, anybody in Putnam County can vote
Okay,
there.
so I was saying, anybody in Putnam
So Putnam
County.
Valley, they were closer for Putnam Valley folks to vote here than going over to Carmel. If you're from Carmel but work here, you can vote there on your way home. So it's a great thing. We worked hard to get it, and we, hate to say it, use it or lose it. So we want to.
Is it every single day? What's the schedule?
It's a long list of days and times, and I can send that to you if you'd like. Maybe there's pamphlets downstairs too.
Okay.
And we can get them on our website too.
That's it. That's all
Any
I
other
had.
questions? No. Thank you. Thanks
Thank
for,
you, Nancy.
Just want to say how I'm grateful for the communication with Central Hudson this time around with the storm. They've been really open with their communication, and it's getting better. So thanks.
All right. Agenda.
First item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing the installation of a dual-port electronic vehicle charging station at the Philipstown Town Hall, 238 Main Street, Cold Spring, New York, in the total amount of $21,111.
This is something we've been looking forward to doing for several years. It's bounced around. Initially, it was going to be in the village, it was going to be by the waterfront, but ultimately we decided the best place for it was here at Town Hall. We'll have a dual port, so 2 cars can be done, and we'll be, working out the wrinkles as we go along, I suppose. Crystal, do you want to say anything? This is Crystal Ford, our Climate Smart Coordinator, who has facilitated this action.
Hi. So if you can hear me, I'll keep the mask on. Now is a great time for us to be looking at installing EV chargers because there's a lot of incentives through both NYSERDA and Central Hudson. So, to install a dual port, we can get $8,000 rebate from NYSERDA, and then Central Hudson's offering 90% rebate on the installation cost. So it will significantly reduce the cost to us. And also, we have 0 chargers in Philipstown, and and so I've been like, that's something that I really, really think is so important. It not only is it's like we need it for the tourists, but for people here, and also future proofing when we have our own EV vehicles for the town. So that's why it makes sense, I think, to have it here. You can walk down to Main Street, and it can be used future-wise by town employees. So I just think this is the right thing to do. We have gas stations on every corner. We gotta start putting the infrastructure in and moving towards the direction that we want. So if anyone has any questions. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I know the site was proposed at the end of Main Street.
Yes.
And I know the village had spent money and time getting easements or looking into easements. So, but it's all the same, basically the same funding. So it's going to be here, and I think it's a more logical place for it. There is some risk of flooding there, and I think I think access is a little bit better here. It's not such a congested area as the bottom of Main Street.
That is exactly, yes, John. It was meant to be down at the bottom of Main Street. Then someone brought up, well, what about downhill flooding? What happens when there's all this crazy stormwater runoff? And I think we had taken into account like sea level rise. But then when there was a question of what do we do when we have these massive downpours? And I was like, I actually don't know. I don't know the answer because I didn't do the research on that location. And so I couldn't speak to whether or not that was actually a good choice.
Well, I think just the congestion of Lower Main Street is a problem. I mean, you can't even get near that area sometimes. But I just wanted to thank the village for the time and effort that they put into securing some stuff there.
And actually, I am not done with trying to find a place in the village. I really think that Metro North is a logical spot, and I've reached out to Metro North, and we're already in conversation. There are other parking lots that it just makes sense to put a few chargers there already, and so let's find the most logical, places in the village, because the village also should have.
I see one going at the rec center at some point.
Oh, definitely, definitely. So there's I think a few places in Cold Spring that really do, if you already have a parking lot, I would love to maybe even see one by Little Stony Point where the hikers are there, and you have a lot of out-of-towners on the weekend parking there. So Village is not done yet, but I would like to just get one charger in first, and then I'll work on the next and the next.
Well, it's something to build on, so.
Exactly.
Christy, can I ask a question about the incentives? You might not have this information, but for individuals too, there are still incentives to purchase electric vehicles.
Yes, there are incentives for homeowners and for businesses. I don't know them off the top of my head, but businesses can take advantage of these incentives as well. And so I have definitely been reaching out to other businesses too to see if they want to take advantage of this, because it is open to, to like the wide community. But homeowners, I don't know what the specific incentives are, but that is something I can research.
All right, with that, we're going to move on to adopting the resolution. So with that, could I get a motion on the resolution authorizing the installation of the dual-port electronic vehicle charging station?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you, and thank you, Crystal.
Next is a resolution authorizing the hire of Dennis Mizuka as recreation leader at a salary of $40,000, and this is a roll call vote.
All right, we'd like to congratulate Dennis Mizuka for becoming the new rec leader. He certainly has put his time in that rec. I don't know, is it 17 years, something like that? So it's about time we got him on board, and we did get the best candidate. So we're very happy. Went through an independent process, interview process. This is a civil service job. You have to take a test. There was an interview committee. So, and we're happy that it worked out this way. So with that, could I get a motion on the resolution authorizing the hire of Dennis Mizuka?
So moved.
This is roll call. Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Tassel.
I vote aye.
Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Oh, Councilman Angel, sorry.
Aye.
About that. And I vote aye.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Dennis.
Next is a resolution introducing proposed local law number 1 of 2021 entitled "A Local Law to Opt Out of the New York State Cannabis Law, Chapter 7A of the Consolidated Laws of the State of New York in regard to retail sales and in regard to the establishment for on-site consumption and setting a public hearing for such," and this is also a roll call vote.
All right, so this is just the introduction of this. I know people will want to speak about it, and that will happen at the public hearing. So when that comes around, could I get a motion on the resolution introducing the local law? Steve, do you want to give some background on this?
Sure.
We did have an evening on this prior to this night.
New York State has adopted legislation legalizing cannabis in the state of New York. There are requirements, of course, in terms of sales and on-site consumption, putting aside the whole agricultural aspect and everything else. The law provides that in regard to retail sales, which would require a permit from the state as well, local municipalities can opt out. They can adopt a local law which would state that the retail sale of cannabis would be illegal because the state will not issue a license within their municipal boundaries. That wouldn't, of course, include the incorporated portions of the town, the villages, that is to say. And the same thing is true in terms of on-site consumption. If you adopt this local law, then it would prevent the state from issuing licenses for such establishments, and it would be illegal to operate them within the town. The local law is subject to permissive referendum, so after you hold the public hearing, if the town board decides to adopt it, there would be a 30-day period during which, if a petition for referendum is filed with the town clerk, the matter would be subject to, the local law would be subject to a vote in the next general election.
All right,
The next general election, that's this coming up or the
No, that
following
would be
year?
2022.
Okay. Just want to be clear, that's what I thought. Just want to be sure.
so again, an ongoing discussion. We're just introducing the local law at this point. Could I get a motion on the resolution?
Do we have time to ask a question?
Oh, sure.
It's really a question for Steve, just as I'm still kind of wrapping my head around it. So it seems like from my own thinking, part of the rationale for opting out from a local community point of view is that this is all moving very quickly. If a local community doesn't opt out by December 31st, then retail sites and consumption sites are permanently allowed. Is that right?
Correct. The way the law is written, if a municipality does not adopt local law opting out by the end of this year, the ability to opt out is waived, and from then on, licenses will be issued for sites within the municipality for retail sales and on-site consumption.
And so if part of the rationale of opting out for a local community is, one, the process is moving very quickly, and two, by opting out, they can have some sort of local control over, if they did allow retail sales in the future, how they allowed it, maybe where they allowed it. I guess my question is, Steve, you mentioned in the workshop that through zoning, for example, a community might decide to say where a retail site could be allowed or not. Is that something that they can do? Is that ability to use zoning to kind of make some of those decisions? Could a local community do that even if they don't opt out? Could they use zoning to decide where retail could go, for example?
Absolutely, they could. Jason, the issue I see here is the town is in the process of updating its comprehensive plan. I fully expect that after that there'll be a number of zoning changes, perhaps other code changes to implement the terms of it, to kind of tweak things. If the town doesn't opt out, then the license can be issued before any of those changes are made. Once the license is issued, assuming it's someplace now in the town where that retail sales would be allowed, they could become a legal non-conforming use if you later on decide you don't want to allow those uses in that area. So by opting out, you kind of buy yourself some more time. You can always opt back in. The town board can reverse itself on this. And of course, like I said, if it's subject to permissive referendum, if there's a vote and the townspeople decide they don't want it, well, the decision will be made for you.
Yeah, it's a very compressed time schedule for the municipalities, not so much for New York State, which I sincerely doubt will get this done this year or next year. But in the hierarchy of needs and things that we need to get done, I'm not putting this way up there. We have a lot of work on our plates, and this is the kind of thing that would definitely take a concerted effort. So, you know, it's not that we're telling everybody you can't do this. That's the law of the land. And if you want to go to Beacon or Peekskill, I'm sure they'll be entertaining it. But in the interim, we will probably not. So, but we'll introduce this local law and have a public hearing. And
So when do you want to have the public hearing?
never.
So our next monthly meeting is October 7th.
Let's meet it. Let's get here at 7 and have it that night.
Do you want to do this one that night? Okay.
October 7th,
Yep. We'll start at 7 p.m.
7 o'clock.
Yeah, 7 p.m. that night. All right, can I get a motion on a resolution introducing the local law and setting the public hearing for October 7th at 7 p.m.?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Roll call. Councilman Angel.
Aye.
Councilman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Van Tassel. And I vote aye. There we have it.
Next is a resolution introducing proposed local law number 2 of 2021, entitled "A Local Law to Add a New Section 175-18.2 entitled Upland Drive and Ridge Road Development Districts and Setting a Public Hearing for Such," and this is also a roll call vote.
Pointing to the fact that we're busy. This is something that's been in the works for a year now. It's to manage our roads, and this is a private road in Continental Village, so it's just the management of that area. The residents are concerned. You have quite a few lots up there that have not been developed, but these roads are tricky at best. Many of them, and I think Steve can attest to this, when you drive on them and you get toward the top or the end of them, they sort of disappear. They're no longer could be considered a road, it's more of a trail. So with that, we're going to try to manage the process better. And if someone comes in, wants to develop some of these lots, then we'll say, you know, here are the parameters under which you can do that. We're certainly not removing anybody's right to develop a lot. These lots exist and property owners have rights, and we fully support those. But we do want to manage them for everybody for a lot of reasons. We look at these storms, you know, the more development you have, the more stormwater runoff you have. Also, anyone who buys a lot should know, you know, to do their due diligence before they go out. These things may look like bargains when you buy them, but then when you see the amount of development just on your own site, not to mention on the road, and the driveway cuts and all that, it can really add up if you want to meet the specifications and work within the paradigm that the town is establishing here. So this will be helpful for the existing residents. It'll be helpful for prospective buyers, for developers, things like that. It's going to set the terms so there's no ambiguity about what can and cannot be done and how it is to be done. So I don't know, Steve, you want to add anything to that?
Oh, if you want me to. Do you want me to?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, briefly then, Richard, there's been a moratorium in the town now for over a year for sure. And the reason for that is the concern over potential development of lots on Upland Drive, Cliffside Court, and Ridge Road. A number of those properties were previously owned by the county and have been put up for sale as a result of being taken for tax purposes. There's we've gone through quite a bit with town's engineers and the highway department, and we've ridden the roads and taken a look at it. And there's two major issues that have been identified. The first is that most of these properties are environmentally sensitive. There's a lot of steep slopes and accessibility issues. There's issues about just community development as to how these properties could be developed and still maintain the community character that you have there. And so this first law addresses the issue of the environmental sensitivity of trying to develop these lots in a way that makes sense under the town code. The other law, which we'll get to in a minute, regarding open development areas and private road standards, addresses the issue of most of, well, all of the properties along these roads being on really subpar, in terms of town road standards, private roads. But as far as this one goes, that's there are steps taken to amend the code to make any development of them more, again, protective of the environment and more compliant with the development of the community in that area and what's envisioned under the town code. What the first local law does, and I'll wrap it up with this, is it creates two development districts. One called the Upland Drive Development District, which encompasses both Upland Drive and Ridge Road, and the other one called, and Cliffside Court, and the other one called the Ridge Road Development District, which just encompasses the Ridge Road properties. And within those two development districts is where these additional land use development requirements will be imposed.
All right, they're pretty straightforward at the heart of the matter. So just trying to protect residents and would-be buyers of properties. So, and definitely take care of looking after the environment in a pretty sensitive area. A lot of, as Steve alluded to, a lot of steep slopes down there. Continental Village was initially a summer committee, now is a community, committee, got committee on the head, community, and now is a full-time residential community with a lot more people than probably was ever imagined. So, with that, could I get a motion on the resolution introducing local law?
Do you want to pick a public hearing date first, just because it's in the resolution?
Yeah, sure. We already have October 7th on here, don't we?
So you want to have 3 public hearings that night?
We're going to have, what else?
We have the next local law that has to do with this, too.
Yeah, it's all the same thing. I don't think there's going to be a lot of,
So then start this one at 7:30?
yeah, we'll start this one at 7:30. I don't think there's going to be a lot of hue and cry about this.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I could make a suggestion. Why don't you schedule it for 7:15? You can always start your public hearing late as far as that goes, and I don't think you're going to have too much. You may have some comment on the opt-out law, but I would suggest you probably better start making it 15 minutes instead of half an hour.
Yeah, rather than sitting around twiddling our thumbs.
Okay.
So 7 o'clock will be cannabis, 7:15 will be the local law.
7 p.m. is cannabis, 7:15 is beer, and then 7:30 is the next public hearing. Okay. Now, can I get a motion on the resolution introducing, where are we here? The local law number 2-2021, a local law to add a new section to the code. That will be, the public hearing will start at 7:15 on October 7th. Could I get a motion on that resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Councilman Van Tassel.
Vote aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Farrell.
Aye.
Councilman Angel.
Aye.
And I vote aye. I keep going to see Councilman Leonard. It's still in there. It's just a force of habit.
Next is a resolution introducing proposed local law number 3 of 2021, entitled "A Local Law to Amend Town of Philipstown Town Code, Chapter 112-35, and the Open Development Area General Regulations of Chapter 112, Article 8, in regard to standards for development of private roads, and setting a public hearing for such." And this is also a roll call vote.
Again, Steve, do you want to walk us through this one?
Sure. I could go through it in full detail if you want, but I think perhaps the Reader's Digest version would serve better here. The way that the private road regulations are written right now, there is a substantially lesser standard than is required for town roads in terms of building requirements. And if a developer on a private road wants to put an additional house on, they can come in and apply to the building department. If they don't meet even those substantially lesser standards, the road doesn't, that is, they can go to the planning board for a special permit under which all they have to show is that the road can provide access to emergency vehicles, safe and convenient access for emergency vehicles. And if they make that showing, they get their building permit. Because of these three roadways, and this particular local law would have townwide application, because it really, would seem that if it makes sense for these roads, it makes sense for all private roads. It does away with that lesser standard, and what the proposed local law will do is say that private roads which have access, provide access for 10 or more lots must meet town road standards. If they cannot meet town road standards physically, perhaps there's just not enough land owned on it to widen it, for example, to town road standards, then they can apply to the planning board for waiver of the particular requirement that they can't meet. But aside from that, they have to be built to town road standards. If you have a private road that provides access to 9 or less lots, then they would continue to be able to provide, to be built to the current standard under the code, which again is safe and suitable access. It adds some language in regard to the expected amount of traffic on it and suitability for clearing snow and ice. So doing away with the old standard, the new standard is going to be 10 or more lots meet town road standards. If you absolutely physically can't do it, you can come to the planning board for a special use permit to have that particular, the provisions you can't meet waived.
So, I have just a question. So this will not affect any roads that are currently have 10 or more homes or 9 or less. This is only going to be if there's an additional home proposed on one of these roads.
That's correct.
That's when the road will have to come up to standard. Correct.
That's correct, John. The trigger for this is not the existence of the road, it's applying for a building permit on the road. So if you're applying for a building permit on a road for 10 or more homes, then the roadway is going to have to be improved to town road standards with the proviso that there can be a waiver if that physically can't be met.
All right. So we'll do that October 7th also. 7:30. Right after marijuana, beer, other public hearing, and this public hearing. So it's going to be busy, probably be some confusion, but let's go with it. Could I get a motion on a resolution introducing proposed law number 3-2021, a local law to amend the town of Philipstown Code 112-35, the open development area general regulations of Chapter 112.
So,
Second.
Second.
All right. Councilman Van Tassel.
I vote aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Councilman Angel, not Leonard.
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution approving the quote from EIPS for additional cameras for viewing outside front entry and inside lobby viewing front door entry at the Philipstown Town Hall at 238 Main Street, Cold Spring, at a cost of $1,265.
Would you like me to explain?
I would love for you to expand on this.
So we had, I wouldn't say a threat, but a concern last week with security here at Town Hall. So at one point, for a couple days, Tara, we had the doors locked. So in order to get in, you had to knock on the door. So this would provide a view inside the clerk's office, outside the front door, and inside the lobby, just outside the second set of doors. So I'm fully supportive of it to provide security for the clerks. What they were doing was the phone numbers were out there. If somebody came to the door, they called, and then.
Well, no, we put a doorbell up.
And the doorbell. Tara actually installed
a
the
doorbell
doorbell.
up.
She went to Home Depot and bought a doorbell. But there are numbers out there as well if you need to speak to somebody.
How welcoming.
Yeah, it was an interesting dong. So these, it's part of, the system's wired already. We have the one camera for the drug box, the drug return box. So this is just adding 2 more views to that camera, so.
Was there, just curiosity, if, say we had to lock the doors again, would there be any way to press a button to open a door if we knew who was
No.
coming in? Okay.
That's not a part of the system.
Okay, just, all right.
But this would allow them to identify if there was somebody that was threatening, which happened, they would get time to call the police. And we did have the police here a couple times last week, so,
Yeah, nothing but good times.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
the security of our staff is paramount for me. so-
Absolutely, absolutely. Tara is like a precious angel straight from heaven. All right, with that, could I get a motion on a resolution approving the expenditure of those funds for the cameras?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And I vote aye. Let's get them in. Not sure this American Rescue Plan thing got on here, a little premature. We did get our first check from the federal government. We're somewhere around $350,000. We will certainly have no problems spending that money, especially in terms of water systems. We'd also like to update our website and also access to that, make it more user-friendly. And those are 2 things we can see investing that money in, but the Garrison Landing Water District is going to be a big one for that. We have quite a bit of work to do in that down there. We're spending way too much money on trucked-in water, and we need to take care of that. We have a plan to, but we need to pay for it. But either way, we're paying for water. That's a dry area. But I don't think we're going to have much issue spending that money by 2024 at all. I don't know if the board wants to add anything. This is a sort of a primer on that, but there's a lot of restrictions on that money. You can use it for premium pay. You can use it for lost revenue, which we certainly did experience. We had no recreation programs, so we had no revenue at rec, and that doesn't help things. But we'll be working on a plan in the coming months, and we're definitely not going to have a problem meeting that deadline.
There have been, Richard, some requests from the Philipstown hub because of the essential worker
Right.
portion. It can be spent on people who worked extraordinary hours during the pandemic.
Yeah,
And the highway department did too, I recognize.
Yeah.
Philipstown hub,
Yeah.
the recreation department did
Yeah,
a lot with
all
the
these
vaccine.
things are going to be open for consideration, there's no doubt. Yeah. But we are definitely not there yet as to spending any of this money. The first thing we will be spending on is that Garrison Landing Water District, though. I do know that. So,
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Bob.
No, I'm just saying, Garrison Water District is a hot priority right now.
yeah, that's something that's just hemorrhaging money.
Yes, it is.
I know Judy had talked about a workshop at some point. What would be the next steps just to kind of look at what the possibilities are for that spending and how it.
Yeah, I would encourage the board members to go online. You can go on to the American Rescue Plan site, and it'll direct you to a voluminous document that tells you how the money can and cannot be spent. There's a lot of information on there. I've been to it several times. There's a lot of legalese in there, so we're going to want to move a little slowly. We have time, but again, we do know we're in good standing to spend it on water infrastructure. But I can't see us setting a workshop date, at least not tonight. So. Yes.
If you're interested, and with all due respect, if you want to use this as an opportunity to understand what the county is supposedly doing, would you like me to, because I inquired with the county executive, I think I actually did send you the email. Do you want me to just?
Sure, why not? Briefly.
It's a question I get a lot from the constituents.
Yeah, because the county is getting a tremendous sum of money.
So I did inquire. I wanted a presentation as to what the county plans were for the $19 million. And
He said anything but money for Philipstown. Oh, that, they have feelings too, somewhere. I'm not sure where they are, but go ahead.
I shouldn't comment, should I? As much as I want to. And I got a response from the county executive as to my request and inquiry, stating that the Commissioner of Finance, pursuant to laws and regulations, applied and received on June 28th $9,548,753.50, the amount which represents 1/2 of the funding allocated to Putnam County. The United States Treasury established the final interim rule regarding the spending of these funds. As we understand, it's very complicated, and closed the comment period regarding the interim rule on July 16th. So the county is waiting to see, and this was August 4th that I wrote this. This is the response. The county is waiting to see if there will be any changes to this interim rule before presenting a spending plan. So as you see, just by looking at your document in the backup material for this meeting, what it can be used for, which is things that the county eliminated from our town. So tourism funding for the village of Cold Spring, garbage removal, I can see something, even what you were just talking about, security for downstairs, I think that's a COVID response. But, as you know, and I know, we could think of many things that are essential to using this money for. I've heard plans for the Danbury corridor study and the sewage study for the Danbury corridor. I don't know if my constituents would appreciate a lot of that money going into there, but again, we have a need in this community for tourism response because we need help handling, what we're hit with. Especially, we're going to get hit pretty hard again in the fall, I would imagine. Absolutely. And with COVID on the rise, we need all the support we can get. So,
yeah, I think people have to think of this in terms of the county is this amorphous thing. The county is the towns. We are the county. This town of Philipstown is a component of the county. There is no county town. The county's made up of the towns. So that money needs to come back to the towns, not just get, put on pet projects somewhere else. So, yeah, or a petting zoo. Or yes, Janice.
I just want to verify that you said it was $375,000 the first installment?
It was somewhere between $350 and $360, I believe. I don't have the exact number on the top of my head. But we'll be receiving another tranche of money next year.
Thank you for letting me share that.
But you talk about us getting $700,000 and the county again, the towns getting an additional $9 million. $19 million, $19 million. Sorry about that. $19 million. That's a lot of money. I mean, the county is going to be awash in money.
And
between
there are a lot of needs. I mean, thank you,
There are a lot of
Legislator
needs.
Montgomery.
Absolutely.
We know our businesses suffered throughout COVID on this side of the county and all over the.
all sorts of things. I mean, the SNAP program, all these services that people need, that all the people who lost jobs, lost revenue, individuals need these programs. And during all this, the county just continues to renege on their commitments and not live up to the responsibilities to the people of the county that live in the towns that comprise this county. So,
Somewhat related, Legislator Montgomery and I will be co-hosting with Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff on September 23rd, a town hall on the updates to SNAP programs, food programs, the health care. There have been changes because of the American Rescue Plan, and also on housing. So we're going to do a virtual town hall on that. More information will be shared. It's on September 23rd.
there's a power trio.
I do hope that the county, the fact that the American Rescue Plan monies can be spent on food assistance, rent assistance, cash assistance, businesses that got hurt. I hope the county, that American Rescue Plan money, towns and villages can spend it too, are for people that got the most hurt during it. So hopefully
Absolutely.
they're looking there as everybody is, where
Right.
people really got hurt.
Right, because they seem to forget that there is real need out there. We've seen it firsthand. So hopefully they do remember that and make that a priority. All right. To be continued, though, no doubt.
So next on the agenda is supposed to be Jeff Demansky, a Jewel representative.
Right down the front row.
Oh, he is. Okay, I didn't see that. Thank you.
How are you, Jeff? Yeah.
I've been waiting to do some stand-ups, so this is really good. I'm Jeff Demansky. I'm the Executive Director of Hudson Valley Energy, which is the program that's the local program manager, which is one of the partners in the Hudson Valley Community Power Program, which Philipstown has been part of since 2019. And thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm going to provide a relatively brief update on the program, including the recent relaunch of this program, which happened this summer, just a couple of months ago. This is the Community Choice Aggregation Program, or CCA program, you may have heard about. What we're talking about for the most part, and what I've shared, is a chart for the electricity supply program. This is about the town providing to community members the opportunity for a fixed rate for electricity supply that is 100% renewable, focusing on 100% renewable from New York State sources at a very competitive rate. I did hand out a chart describing the program. CCA, Community Choice Aggregation, we are talking about, and I will talk mostly about electricity supply tonight, but it is, to use a term that my colleague at Jewel has used, it's a Swiss Army knife of a local law. There's a number of programs that are underneath the CCA umbrella. Electricity supply, fixed rate is one of them, and people probably have heard in Philipstown about community solar as another option, which we'll talk about probably at another time. We won't go into that. But just suffice to say that there are a number of opportunities under this umbrella of community choice aggregation and what can be done with it. I do apologize. I have evidence that I was in a fight with my printer tonight, so I only had enough, and thankfully I had enough for the council members tonight. But what's on the chart are a number of relevant electricity rates, and I'll walk through it in some degree. And a long story short on these detailed charts, long story short, the story is good in terms of electricity rates and the program. What I've shown here is the history of the program starting in July of 2019, which was a 2-year contract for a fixed electricity supply rate, and the aggregation of communities, the partnership of which Philipstown was just one of 10 communities in the Hudson Valley. Together, we chose a supplier to provide the fixed rate for 100% renewable electricity from New York State sources, and that was a company called Direct Energy. There's a lot of names associated with this program, so I do apologize, but it's a symbiotic relationship, this partnership, to deliver a benefit to the community members. So Direct Energy was actually shown on customers' Central Hudson bills for those who stayed in the program. And on the chart, the rate for the programs is shown, but let me walk through the colors shown on this chart. The top line, the top red line, that's a flat line, is electricity rate for 100%, a comparable 100% renewable product that a private individual customer could likely obtain on average if they wanted to go into the private supply marketplace for electricity supply. For the majority of the original 2-year program, which ended in June 2021, was about 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's that top red line. The next line down, the green line, straight line, was our program rate from July of 2019 through June of 2021. And that was about 6.3 cents per kilowatt hour. So well below what somebody as a private customer could get for a comparable 100% renewable source electricity. The purple line, our program did offer 2 fixed rates. There was a standard, it's predominantly not renewable sources. It was there for people who could at any time choose if they stayed in the program, and anybody could opt out. But if they wanted to stay in the program and have a more cost competitive rate, there was the standard rate, as we called it. The blue line that's down there is the average of Central Hudson's rate, a running average since the program starts. And the actual month-to-month is that yellow line that bounces up and down, and it looks like a very strange EKG line for somebody's heart rate. In a nutshell, there's a YouTube presentation back in January of this year, 2021. I, with Glenn, recorded a presentation walking in detail about the story of the rates and the program's performance to date. It was a challenging couple of years for the program, but there was much benefit delivered by the program. And without the pandemic, the program, in terms of its potential to deliver cost benefits, would have been an even better story. But again, that's on a recorded video. If anyone wants to see it, you can go to the Hudson Valley Energy YouTube page or view this chart at the hudsonvalleyenergy.org website. The story that's shown on the far right of the chart is, with the black line going up and down, shows the end of the original 2-year program. And to the right of it, what we've just started with the renewal, the selection of a new supplier, that 10 communities, and Philipstown being one of them, went back out and picked a new supplier for a new fixed rate for a 100% renewable supply, and we got just about the same rate. It stepped up just 0.2 cents above what it was, or about 6.5 or 6.6 cents if you round it per kilowatt hour. And the standard rate, we still do offer a standard rate. It's just slightly lower than it was last time at about 5.9 cents. But the trend since November of last year has shown that the effect of the pandemic is in the past. There's optimism about the economy. There's a lot of expectation that we're going to be moving further and further away from fossil fuels. And so more pressure on renewables and higher prices for this transition away. And so there is a trend, if you look at the line for the utility rates, trending up, such that it's looking very, very promising in terms of everything that our program delivers. A very competitive rate for electricity supply for 100% renewables. And as shown in the first 2 months of our program, to the right of that black line, we have been lower than Central Hudson's rates. And there is expectation that that will likely be, on average, the outcome of the program. So things are good, including for the comparison. You notice the red line jumps up, the new average, because of the pressures on the renewable marketplace. An individual customer would expect at best to find something at about 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So the program truly is delivering multiple benefits to the community members in the communities that have offered this program. Again, there's more details that we can go into it. So this is, again, the story of the first 2 years of the Philipstown program, the start of a 3-year program with the company that we chose that's called Columbia Utilities Power. So that's the transition that people may have noted on their utility bills, because that is the company that we, together as an aggregation through a competitive process, picked to be the supplier for fixed rate electricity supply. And things are looking promising. What I've shown on the reverse of the backside of this is the sister program, an aggregation of 6 communities for another aggregation that we launched in Orange and Rockland Utilities territory. 6 communities in Orange, all in Rockland County. Same breakdown, red line is private market, the yellow line is the Orange and Rockland rate, and then the green is our 100% renewable fixed rate, the purple is our standard rate, and then the average of the utility rate is that blue line. And the story here is that it is working well. Since November, when that program launched, the yellow line being the utility rate is well above our program rates. And even the average since May of 2021 has come up above both of our program rates. So the design of what this program was intended to be is showing that it is delivering very good outcomes. I think the collective assessment of the benefit to date for community members in those Rockland communities, with the rates of the utilities being higher as it has been a collective about $1 million benefit to the community members. So lots of good news afoot from that. An additional benefit of the program, I mean, I probably have put most of you to sleep talking about these things. A lot of people don't pay attention to the utility bills. When they dive in, it can be very overwhelming and complex, especially when we have programs that have very similar names: community choice aggregation for electricity supply, community solar. What I love about the program, and there's certainly a bias here, but is that the program includes my organization as a partner, and my team is there to be a resource to the community to help navigate and understand how this program works and how it's different than other opportunities out there, and what other opportunities might be coming down the pike. I'm happy to report that since the July 2019 start of the program, our helpline database has shown more than 13,000 interactions with individual customers. There's some repeats, but it's safe to say that there's more than 10,000 individual interactions that we've had, helping people in or out of the program, which they can do at any time with no cost. It's very flat and transparent. We make it very easy. Or just answering their questions, helping them understand what's happening out there. I do miss our in-person. Until the pandemic, we were doing weekly office hours down at Village Hall in Cold Spring. I hope to get back to that sometime, just so that we can be in the community. It was challenging in the relaunch of our program to not be able to do in-person meetings to let people know about what was going on. There was outreach, there were letters, there was webinars, but with our launch this summer of the program, I think a lot of us have gone into Zoom fatigue. So we did hear that there was concern when the program relaunched. Letters were sent out by the town on materials that I think looked very good as not looking like junk mail, but that's subjective to some degree. But the letters went out in May. They were followed by letters from Central Hudson at the end of a 30-day opt-out period, letting people know that, hey, you're about to be included in this program. I'm very glad to hear that Central Hudson has been very responsive during the storm, because the letters that they sent out did cause some confusion, especially because they sent out different versions of their letter that confused people. The first version didn't reference this being a town program and indicated that there was an expedient action required if you didn't want to be part of it, no reference to the rates, and no inclusion of our helpline number, which they had done in previous iterations of their letter. It's fairly inexplicable. They did improve it, but they still haven't included our helpline, which led people to spend a lot of time on hold with Central Hudson and or Columbia Utilities when they should be pointed to our helpline team just to support people, which that's what we're here to do.
That's far from inexplicable. I could explain that.
I'm just trying to share the facts here. So that's generally the update. I'm happy to answer questions. Again, just to emphasize, though, that this is a program in which people can opt in or opt out of at any time, and the team is here, and other resources, the partnership website, to help this be an easy experience, as it can be for people. But thank you for the time.
So the reason I asked for you to be here this evening, make a presentation, is we've gotten several complaints of people trying to opt in and or opt out and spending hours on the phone. And I think you explained that they were calling Central Hudson instead of calling your helpline. So could you just give us the helpline number that
Helpline number, yes, and it's 845-859-9099.
So we'll put that up on our website, and then people can go right to that, or call here at Town Hall and get that number.
And I'll say also that we offered numerous times to help train the customer service team at Central Hudson, and they've yet to take us up on that offer, just so that they know where to send people when they speak. So
That's very strange. Our partnership with Juul has been terrific so far. This is part and parcel of our ongoing efforts at reducing climate change. And again, if this isn't going to happen from the municipalities and the ground up, it's probably not going to happen. So we're really happy with the way things have worked with Juul. I think 99.8% of the community is happy that they're getting their power from renewable resources. And I just think it's been a great program so far, and looks better and better when you look at this graph from the indications that power supplied by fossil fuels on the rise, because the cost of fossil fuels are going up and not likely to come down, as I read in the New York Times today, because OPEC is going to put a stranglehold on oil, and you're going to continue to see gas prices go up and fossil fuels go up, and also all the negative effects of those fossil fuels, as we have seen with the storms in the last 2 weeks, when you have record-breaking rains, you have tornadoes coming to New Jersey and New York City. It's something is not right. So we're very, very happy with this. Again, all part of our Climate Smart Communities effort, and Jeff, I can't thank you enough.
And you're just reminding me to talk about, there's a little S to the far right of the chart for the Hudson Valley Community Power Program in a circle. That's just a reminder. That's the rate that Saugerties, which joined after we did the renewal, just a few weeks after we did the renewal, they committed to join. And our rate was so good for the renewal communities, for what Philipstown has, that the supplier, despite an initial offer, wouldn't keep the good rate that we got for the renewables. So that S is at the rate that Saugerties is actually at, which is about 7.2 cents per kilowatt hour.
Hey, Jeff, can I just say, you did mention that some people find electricity and variable rates boring, right? And getting into your utility bill boring. But I should just say that, this is a real success story. And remember that, this effort grew out of a number of Philipstown regular residents sitting around a couple years ago over coffee saying, what can we do about climate change locally? And it's grown. I was very proud to work on it with the board, and it's spread with you and Jewel, and it's spread to 9 other communities, 40,000 households. And just to make this point, it's a success story in dreary times. When we're looking at the news, we're looking at wildfires, the rain, everything, what local communities can do. And when we look at this, just the fact that 2/3 of Philipstown homes are now in this new electricity program, that a few years ago they were getting their electricity from a Central Hudson mix that was 88% fossil fuel. And as Crystal is talking about plugging in, it's no good plugging into an electricity supply if it's dirty. And so Philipstown really is, because of a lot of the leadership of this board, leading the way locally on environmental issues. And the fact that you're saying that now not only have we moved 2/3 of homes, about 25,000 households in the Hudson Valley, over to 100% renewable energy, 4 out of the last 6 months, that 100% renewable energy is cheaper than what people would have been getting in Central Hudson, and it's fixed. And so if you're a senior out there and you're watching your money closely, having a fixed rate on your energy bill is a really big deal when you are counting your money and not following the fluctuations of the market. So again, I know some people look past electricity, but it's a really big deal in seeing what we can do at the local level in a real way. So thank you.
We always say we have to catch up with the community leaders so that we can lead them. Well, Jeff, thank you so much.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is Claudio Marzolo to speak to you about the possibilities of Lanegate.
Here comes
being
trouble.
paved.
Capital T.
It starts with T. Right here in River City, right, Claudio?
Thank you for giving me a chance to address
Claudio,
the,
for you, anything.
Thank you. This comes at an appropriate time for a couple of reasons. It's appropriate because you're starting to work on next year's budget, so this is a good time to be bringing this up. It's also appropriate because of the storms we've been having. Last week, Carl and his highway department crew were out fixing Lanegate Road after the storm that came through 2 weeks ago. And last night, all the work they did was just not only wiped out, but made considerably worse because it was a heavier rainfall. So, we have to look at this very carefully. About 25 years ago, there was talk of paving Lanegate Road, and I was president of the Road Association at that time, and I was in front of the board then screaming at them not to do it. But with age comes wisdom. And now I've done a 180, and I'm coming to you saying, please, please, can we pave the place? Because, as my son David said, are you sure you want to go kick that hornet's nest? And I'm sure that in, next meeting, some people who are opposed to what I'm proposing will be here saying their 2 cents, and that's the way it should be. People give their opinions, and then you will have to make a decision. But the reality is that we are ruining our streams. I see Carl and his guys pushing lots of item 4 and pushing it there, and the sides of the roads are newly packed down. They go over it with the roller, and then it rains hard, and it's all flows. Now, it all goes, where does it go? It goes into our streams, and it gums them up. It's a mess. And about 5, 6 years ago, I paved my driveway because I got tired of pushing the gravel around, and it makes a huge difference. It's so much more pleasant to deal with this because after a big snowfall, there's usually a nice sunny day. And at the end of the sunny day, my driveway is perfect. And the road out of it still takes about 2 or 3 or 4 more days before it happens. And, you know, people are going to thump and scream about safety and people are going to drive faster. Well, you know, when I first moved here, Healy and Moffett were not paved. And they've been paved, and I don't notice people driving them on it.
Claudio, how fast could a horse and wagon go back then?
Yeah. Well, if you whipped if you got the horses out of retirement from the Tilley farm. Well, look, I would just appreciate it if you took another look at it and see if there was a way to, you know, maybe not do the whole thing at once, but do it in sections over years, because I think ultimately it will save the town money. And it will save the people in the town a lot of aggravation. A couple of my neighbors are here, and I think they'd like to just briefly state their opinions, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead, please. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Chris Schmaltz. I do live on Lane Gate as well. I kind of echo everything that Claudio just said. What I would chime in that's kind of strange is it's kind of changed the vehicle that I decide to drive, because I kind of sign up and say I can never have a clean car, because if you have a clean car and you drive, it gets covered in dust all the time, which is kind of a minor issue. The other thing I'd kind of point out and mention is that the maintenance on the car, I think, has gone up considerably because the car always needs an alignment, and I think those are factors in it as well. So hopefully you guys can consider that, but it would be great to have it paved. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm Larry Wiesler, and I live off of Lane Gate on Shad Row, a smaller road that we experience the runoff from item number 4 every time they repave the road. My spouse and I have lived here 20 years, and Richard, yes, we bought our house when we knew this was a dirt road, and we thought it was really idyllic and just charming to have this dirt road. And over time, we become very good friends with Carl and his amazing team, calling them, asking them if they can come and redo our road because it turns into one lane. And as we watch them do the repairs, we watch all of that item number 4, which we have no real idea what's in it, being shoved into Hoffinger's Pond, into rivers and streams. And if we're talking here about being environmentally conscious, let's get real on this, please. I think it's common sense. The other aspect that we should really consider is the economics of it. There is a lot of time and expense in our budget. You know, it seems like, relatively it's okay, we're only spending a little bit each year, but that adds up for the investment that we would put in a paved road. And I would be more than happy to monitor the road if anyone's concerned about speeding. I mean, we enjoy our community, and we want to live that integrity of being budget conscious and also environmentally sound. I get the bucolic nature of the dirt roads, but I think it comes down to common sense at this point. That's my spiel. And Claudio, thank you for taking this initiative. I really applaud you in doing this. And it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else on that? So Claudio's correct that it is budget season, and we will be considering how and what road improvements we're going to undertake, so it is timely. We'll take a look at it. Not making any promises, that's for sure. But like you say, we can take a look at that. I don't think anybody has to go into a panic saying, oh, here we go again, they're going to pave all the roads. It's never one or the other. And during my tenure, which is 20 years, there has not been a lot of paving that has happened. And some areas that it should have happened. I would say I've come to understand over the years that the Old Albany Post Road is a special road that I don't think should ever be paved, any section of it, for any reason, no matter what it takes to maintain it. And I know people will flip out hearing that because they're saying, well, I'm tired of the dust, but that is a historic road. That Indian Brook Road, those are really, really historic roads. And all the dirt roads are historic, obviously, but the Old Albany Post Road is the last section of that road that remains virtually the way it was in the 1700s. So, but it is something to consider, and I can't argue the environmental impacts nor the cost impacts. When we look at the size of these, you see that Volvo grader that we have 2 of those, and they're not cheap machines. And we're one of the only communities that even has graders anymore. We're always, if people need one, they come and borrow ours because we have them. But they're expensive machines. But again, it's all open for discussion, and we'll be discussing it during budget season. But thank you. Yes. How are you, Betsy?
Hi, I'm Betsy Calhoun. I hadn't expected to talk about this. I didn't know this was on the agenda. Is it 20 years ago we had the Roads Advisory Committee? Something like that. 20, 30?
Longer than 20, yeah.
And we went through this exact discussion. We had professional people from Cornell come down and advise us and evaluate the roads. We had a lot of concern on the part of the government people at that time. The people who came down actually were treated with no respect whatsoever. But I really don't want to emphasize that sort of thing. It was a learning experience for a lot of us. Dirt roads are less expensive than paved roads. With all due respect and affection for Carl, I have to say, he has never, at my request, I have requested try a sample. Just try it on a certain section, maybe Old Albany Post Road, since that's going to be permanently dirt, hopefully. The problem is drainage. The whole thing is drainage, is control of water. The road is crowned, the water goes to the side. There's a lot of very soft material on the side because it wasn't packed down, it couldn't be packed down, and it's small. It's almost turning into mud. It is turning into mud. On the sides of the highway or the road, we have to have stone. We have to have something that is big enough not to be washed away. That's the basic idea. Water to the side is not the same as the soft dirt that gets packed down and then gets washed away. But the surfacing has been a better material. There's some kind of a mixture that's making it hold better than just dirt. I don't know if there's some concrete mixed in with it, some oil material, but there is something so that the surface is more lasting. But the sides are a disaster. They're ravines. I live on a particularly steep hill on Old Albany Post Road, so I see this happening. And the reason it's so expensive, obviously, is because the material has to be replaced over and over and over. There are sections near my house that are terrible. That's to be expected. That will happen every time. And everybody will say, the solution is paving. See how beautiful it is. Right. Look at the material you're using. That's not good. I would like to see a sample of proper drainage, just once, for an example. In Vermont, I understand they are taking away some of the paving and preferring to have dirt because it is less expensive and it's durable if you make it correctly. And I'm not having fun being here today on this subject because I thought we were basically putting it aside and just living with what we had. No, that's because most of the people who are listening to me do not really believe that this can be better. I'm afraid. I don't like to be pessimistic like that. I would like to think you really all push, let's have a display. Let's see it. That would be wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will say, from my point of view, on South Mountain Pass, which our road always washes out down towards the Dushians, I think, Carl's been doing a great job. They are putting down that mix of, I think it's asphalt millings in there with the dirt that holds it. And there is on either side of the road, they've installed large rocks as drainage. But anyway, I've told Carl that because it held through this storm last night when I drove down.
I always find it interesting that the people that live on dirt roads are on a first-name basis with the highway superintendent and his crew. So, the people that live on paved roads don't even know who Carl is. So.
I've never called the highway superintendent and asked for the road to be redone, though. I never knew this was the third rail. I thought like legal retail sales and cannabis, the third rail, but the real third rail is the dirt road paving conversation.
You do not. You don't want to touch that. Yeah. What else could we bring up? It's happy talk. All right.
Next on the agenda is to schedule workshops and meetings. Obviously, our regular monthly meeting is October 7th with those 3 public hearings preceding it. We already have a workshop scheduled for September 8th with the Brookside neighbors to discuss that road. There is a workshop request from Climate Smart it's kind of a collective request from a couple of different people on a couple of different issues that I spoke to Crystal about and we thought could be in the same night. The lawn care best practices. They have someone wants to talk about food waste and the community solar program. And then I don't know if you would want to lump the other Climate Smart, the New York Stretch Code, into that as well.
Yeah, let's do all that in one evening and try to be organized about it.
We may, maybe, can we move the 15th to the 22nd?
Yeah.
So do you want to do it all on the 22nd as opposed to the 15th?
Yeah, because
Okay.
I met with Crystal and Greg about the stretch program, and I know Greg needs to be here for that presentation, so we just got to make sure that he's available. So
Okay.
I would think if we give him a longer window to this 22nd, it would work better for Greg Warner.
Okay, I'll reach out. Karen Ertl was the one who reached out to me on the food waste, and she specifically requested the 15th, so I'll reach out to her also and just make sure
We
that,
can condense it all
yeah,
to the 22nd.
the 22nd is
Yeah.
good. And Crystal also.
We'll have a week off in between.
Yeah, and let's set an agenda with some times on it.
Yeah.
So people have a specific amount of time. They can do their presentation.
Do you want to start that one at 7 or 7:30?
7:30.
7:30.
Karen is, I met with her as well today with Legislator Montgomery, and she is well prepared, so it'll flow well, I'm sure.
Okay.
All right.
Next on the agenda is the Code Enforcement Monthly Report, and this is for August of 2021. Fees collected in total were $33,001.55. There were 32 total permits issued, 3 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, 29 all other permits, pools, sheds, deck, plumbing, AC, etc., 27 certificates of occupancy, 1 stop work order was issued, and there were 3 inspections of public assembly.
Thanks to Greg for that. I know he's been really busy, and I know he's a little short-staffed because he lost his help there, so we got to try to find somebody else.
He did have a couple names in mind, somebody that applied last time, so we would like to speak with you.
He's got my number. I'll go over there anytime.
You were away when I was supposed
I'll go over there and raid the candy jar.
to. Me too.
Not much left there.
No, but-
Bob's been hitting it.
No, I haven't touched it. Yeah, I just found out today that the other building inspector has been on like a leave or whatever. I just found out today that he's been shorthanded.
Yeah.
So yeah, I spoke to him about trying to get somebody else as well. So I think we definitely need someone to help him. There's no question.
Yeah, he does. There's a lot going on.
Is there any
so.
possibility of having Bob come back in the interim?
I doubt that.
Okay, just asking.
I don't think so. We gotta.
I hate to say it, but he slowed down a little bit, I think. But
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be looking for somebody, but I'll speak to Greg about it. One thing I wanted to bring up is we had a conference call this week with Stephen Gaba and to talk about these other local laws that we introduced tonight, but we also talked about the potential for making the Trails Committee a formal town committee. So I spoke with Laura Bazzi and Rebecca Ramirez, and Jason was on the call. Always nice to see Jason. About the possibility of becoming town committee. It just seems to make sense. It's a great initiative. It also ties into Complete Streets, and I think that for them to come under the town umbrella it makes a lot more sense, and it'll also get a lot more people involved. The thing that they need to be cognizant of is then you're subject to the open meetings laws, but we're going to work through that. We're going to have some back and forth with the 2 reps from the Trails Committee there, and we'll get that done, get them formalized as a town committee so we can work toward getting a more pedestrian-friendly community along with the other initiatives that they're working on. Does the board have anything else?
Can we speak about the outreach worker that Putnam County has asked us to fund? We received a letter from the Commissioner of Senior Services, Michael Cunningham. And, it's interesting because we just hired, the Rec Commission hired a civil service candidate, Dennis Mizuka, and there was an interview committee, and Philipstown was included. But now when the county wants to hire an outreach worker and wants us to pay half the salary, they don't want to include Philipstown on the interview committee. So that is very curious to me. I don't think we should fund something if we have no say in who's hired.
100%. I agree. And I think that maybe, there was some mention of maybe we go our own way. I don't know. I'd rather not do that because we get so little from the county to begin with. It's just another thing to say, sure, go ahead. But I think we should definitely insist that we have a seat at that table. Representative, 2 representatives I would like to see. I would like to see a member of this town board and then a representative of the senior community at that table. And perhaps Sheila Rouse should be interested in that. Because it's not right to be funding, like you said, 50% of the position and having no say in who gets hired. It's just, it doesn't add up. But it's,
Philipstown Aging at Home has been very active in organizing seniors, and I think, they can be involved and helpful in this process.
I'll reach out tomorrow and just say, it's either we get a seat at that table or we're pulling up stakes.
what would the repercussions be, though? We
We are our own person.
right at 15,000 to do the job of a $30,000 position, or how would we?
Well, we have plenty of seniors who are very active, and I think we could do it. I also think we could raise the money on our own. I hate to say that, and I hate to offer anything, but if we don't get some representation for our seniors, this will just be another one of those little patronage positions that they give out to somebody who's not from this community, and that's not what we want. We need somebody from this community representing Philipstown seniors.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm just questioning.
No, Yes, please, Legislator Montgomery.
I think the letter that you received, that I received a copy of from you, was confusing because, we've been dealing with this for a lot of months now, and inquiries to the county executive, to the Office of Senior Resources, and to the Office of Personnel. And it's my understanding from the months-long waiting for this information is it's not a competitive position. So that letter seemed to indicate that it was.
Right.
I was told it's not. So that needs to be clarified. I wouldn't give up the position. I was also told that we would have a seat. You would have a seat at the table. So I sense politics are at play here, and I won't stand for it, and the community should not stand for it. And this is just another example of that at play.
Right, and this should be a no-brainer. This is a Philipstown position for Philipstown seniors, so it's it shouldn't be that hard. And we're not talking about huge sums of money, and we have qualified people, so we don't want this decision to be made and foisted upon us to say, look, here's the person you're working with now. The seniors are going to resent that, will resent it, and as we should. So I'll reach out again tomorrow and give them the ultimatum. Boy, will they be scared. But Judy, thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Anything from the public? Anita Prentice, what a rare pleasure here.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi. So I am Anita Prentice, and I'm here as the president of the Desmond Fish Public Library. And first of all, I wanted to thank you for your ongoing support, and just to let you know that the library, if there's anything we can do to be helpful to the town board, we would love to do it. I should also mention we are using community solar to supply all our electricity needs. But most importantly, I'm here to introduce our new director. This is Deirdre Faribaugh, Dee, a resident of Cold Spring, and she just began on Monday. We're very thrilled to have her and let her introduce herself.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. And I'm happy to see familiar faces in the audience. Legislator Montgomery and I were attending Putnam Valley town board meetings not that long ago. So I recently came from Putnam Valley Library, where I was the director, and now I'm excited to work in the town in which I live. My husband and I moved to Cold Spring in November of 2019 from Beacon, and then of course 4 months later the pandemic hit, so it's been interesting getting to know my neighbors, but I look forward to continuing the strong tradition of leadership that Desmond Fish has and partnering with the Butterfield Library, and just supporting the community however we can facilitate more programs that make our community more connected and also more expansive. So.
Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say that it's great to have Desmond Fish. It's a real resource for the community, a great library, but libraries have grown to be so much more important. It's not just about books, about programming, about electronic media, all these things. So thank you. Anything else? All right.
Just wanted to say welcome Nelsonville trustee Chris Wimward. Who's here.
Oh. Yes. How are you, Chris? Woohoo! Go Nelsonville! Sure. Boy, you sat through this. You deserve a minute.
Thank you very much, Judy. And I know, I appreciate you bringing up ARP funds and Jason as well. And I know that we're all working on this diligently. Philipstown received funds, Nelsonville received funds, Cold Spring received funds as well, obviously in proportional amounts. And we're kind of waiting to hear the lead that Philipstown takes to be able to best present a strategy on the local the most local level. So appreciate you keeping those lines of communication open. I'm not coming here with my hat out for sure. Just, I think it'll be great to collaborate on best uses and see what your strategy is may dictate how we proceed in figuring out how to best distribute funding. So appreciate you having an open process and keeping just lines of communication open. Also, the access to data, you may have better access to data than we do to be able to help individuals, businesses, and needs in Nelsonville. So appreciate keeping that open.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And then lastly, I know it'll be on the agenda for next month, but do appreciate for the opt-out of the cannabis sales. Glad to hear that everybody is taking their considerations. Nelsonville is also considering opting out as well. We think it's really important to hold out and see what the state regs bring to be able to know what the parameters are that we're all looking at. So,
Yeah, it's a lot to bite off for a small town.
Thank you. Thanks so much, guys.
Yep.
Great
Thank you.
intermunicipal communication, Chris. one town.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right. Vacancies, 0. All right, let's go Philipstown. Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I vote aye. Highway,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I vote aye. Continental Village Park District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I vote aye. Continental Village Water District,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. I vote aye. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second.
Second.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.